is up? Welcome to another episode. Alright, so I'm really excited right now because I'm actually going to go ahead and start installing the front 5 lug conversion and the big brake setup, all of that. I've been waiting and the day is finally here. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get started on all the cotter pins. Just because these could be kind of annoying sometimes, so I'm just going to remove them from all 3 ball joints. So I'm just removing that. I just removed that little dust shield from the upper ball joint. Those are 10mm bolts. I'm gonna remove these. The cotter pins, sometimes if they give me a hard time and they don't want to just like pull through like they should, I just go ahead and cut them. If I could just get them to the point where I could cut the little hoop, I just cut them. Like I said, cotter pins could suck sometimes. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and deal with this fork. You'll see as soon as you loosen that 14, everything will drop because all the weight's off of it. And that's a 14mm bolt. Next I'm gonna go ahead and do this 17mm that's mounting the bottom of the fork to the actual lower control arm. Go ahead and do this for the tie rod end. Oh yeah, should be able to get the fork out like that. So now the suspension's kind of free to move a little bit. When dealing with any sort of ball joint, everywhere on the actual knuckle itself, there's little tabs that you'll see that stick out, and those are actually meant for you to hammer it. So I don't know, I usually don't have any of those like ball joint separators. I just kind of bang it up a little bit. There it is. Just gonna get that out of the way. So now this thing's free to turn. I think I'm gonna try to get the lower ball joint first, just because this one always gives me a hard time. So on this suspension, it's pretty simple because everything that's with the ball joint is the 17mm. So the tie rod, lower ball joint, upper ball joint are all 17s. So that's fairly easy to remember. So yeah, if you look right here, right there, there's this little tab sticking up, and then this little tab. Those are actually to hammer right there to get them free. And that trick sometimes works too. So the whole idea of the jack is to lift this, because what's going on with the lower ball joint is you have the lower control arm that has the hole, and the knuckle has the lower ball joint that's going through the hole. So the reason why the bottom one always sucks is because that's where most of the weight is pushing on. So that's the one that usually gets stuck all the time. So the whole idea of what I was doing is I'm lifting up through the rotor, so that's lifting the actual ball joint, so that's lifting this. So by lifting that, by lifting it and then banging it, it drops the control arm. If you kind of deal with this, you'll kind of know what I'm talking about once you're doing it. All right, now the last one over here. There we go. So broke that guy loose. Now, I already broke this axle nut loose earlier, so just gonna go and take this off. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna go ahead and do is disconnect the brake line. So I'm just gonna put this little drain pan thing. Oop. And make sure you don't reuse these crush washers. Get new crush washers. I almost forgot, there's actually a little mounting bracket for the brake line on the knuckle right here. So these are 10 mils. Just gonna get these guys off. This is now ready to be removed. Then I want to make sure you don't actually pull on the axle. You don't want to dislocate any of the joints on the axle. So you want to and once you get the axle out of the way, here you go. Just go ahead and set that down right there. I don't care about that. It's garbage. I'm gonna go ahead and clean everything out, and then I'll get back to you guys whenever I start installing the new 5 lug. So, since the front knuckle I got from the junkyard was rusted to hell, along with that, the bolts that mount the bearing to the actual knuckle were so rusted that as soon as I would take them off, they snapped right where the thread started. So with that, I'm just going to be reusing these bolts. So now I pretty much have this guy ready to go on. So I'll go ahead and start on that. Now I have the 5 lug knuckle ready to go, and it's as simple as lining this lower ball joint up, and then you're going to want to get this axle. Make sure that axle slides in. And then line the upper ball joint up. I'm just gonna go ahead and thread it in the castle nuts. Just keep them in place. I did already go ahead and adjust the coilover. Just raise the front up by 1/2 inch like I did with the rear. I'm gonna go ahead and try to fit this fork on. So I'm just going to leave it in place. I'm not going to tighten it up yet. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the tie rod end, put that in. This goes through underneath. I'm just going to run the nut, just, thread the nut in a little bit. So for the most part, I'm just kind of threading the nuts in, just because I'm not tightening everything down for the last time. I just kind of want to make sure everything is in place and it fits. And there you go, that knuckle is on. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is put the rotor on. So before getting ahead of myself and getting the rotors and everything on here, I gotta make sure I torque this down before the rotor, just because I need to be able to get to this bolt right here. So this bolt right here is gonna be torqued down to 70 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the fancy torque wrench, and we're gonna set this to 70. And let's go ahead and start torquing this down. All right, so now that's torqued, the next thing to get torqued down is gonna be these lock nuts on the back. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna put a wrench on this, because when you're actually torquing this down, it's gonna try to spin this. So you wanna put a wrench there and then torque the back down. So the back's only gonna be torqued down to 40. So just got that set. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and hold this in place because I don't want to lose any of the torque. This bracket is all torqued down now. I can go ahead and get to exciting bits and put the rotor on. Look at this big boy. So before doing that, always make sure before putting on rotors, you clean them off with some brake cleaner. Yeah, and just make sure you clean them really good with brake cleaner, just because from the while they're storing, they put a coating on them to keep them from like corrosion or something. But yeah, there's a coating on top of it, and you'll kind of notice after you clean it there'll be like some dirt on the rag. So yeah, just make sure you get that layer off, just because you don't want that coating to get in the way of like the bonding process between the rotor and the actual pads. So and as I mentioned in my other video, these rotors are off of an 06 350Z track edition, so it's the one with the Nismo brakes. Whenever you do the big brake setup, you do need these rotors. The one thing is you want to take it to a machine shop, and they're gonna have to bore this out, because when you pair it with the Odyssey knuckle, the 350Z come with about 66mm center bore, and the Odyssey knuckle is a 70.3 center bore. So you want to make sure you do bore that out, but you don't want to do it at home. You want to make sure that circle's perfect. So take it to a machine shop. It should be like 20 bucks. So I'm just gonna kind of tighten these down a little bit, just to kind of hold the rotor in place. Alright, so this big boy rotor is on. Now we know what comes next, so let's get it. And now the moment I've been waiting for, I hope you guys have as well. This bad boy going on now. So when you're putting these guys on, these bolts, you just want to put a little bit of red Loctite. Like that. I'm gonna go ahead and get this guy on. So there's that. These guys need to be torqued down to 60 foot-pounds. Alright. Yep, I'll just kick back and look at how good that looks. Man. Alright, but before I enjoy the view too much, let's get it done here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get the pads in here already. And this is one of the really big things that I like about the fixed calipers, is because the pads just slide in. That's awesome. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is stick the pin in just a little bit, you know, just so it could catch right there. Then I'm gonna stick this pin in over here, and I'll show you why I'm doing this in a little bit. Show you guys why I'm doing this. So you have this bridge spring right here, right? So you're gonna put this guy like this, and then what you're gonna do is, when you're sliding this pin through, you're gonna push it over this tab, over that tab. And if you're pushing this, the reason why I put this other pin in is to keep this back pad from sliding in, because if you push this spring, it's gonna push the pad back. So I just put that pin there to do that. So then I'm just gonna slide this pin through. So there. And the second one should be pretty easy. You're just gonna have to put quite a bit of tension on this bridge spring. And there you go. That just slides through. So what I went ahead and just did is made sure these holes on the pins are facing the right way. I just kind of wanted them to face diagonal, because the next thing I'm going to do is put this little retainer pin in. And the whole idea of this is to get both of these ends into these holes, and then this little part locks in that hole right there. Alright, and then just to help me out with this guy, I just use a little bit of a needle nose action to get it in there. But yeah, there's the pads all in and ready to go. Brake line is hooked up. The next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is gonna bolt up this little bracket to the actual knuckle here, just to secure the brake line. Alright, that is looking pretty good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten up all the bolts I loosened to get this apart. So I'm not gonna bore you with the same stuff over. So I'll get back to you guys once I finish that. Alright, and now, just as a last step, just go ahead and spray everything down with some brake cleaner. Just because my greasy hands were all over that, getting a bunch of nastiness on there. Don't want that. And spin it around. Spray some more. Yeah, everything is looking good. Got everything tightened. It's good to go. I'm about to get those wheels on here, so. Alright, and there is the whole package. Got the wheels on, got the big brakes on, 5 lugs. I am so stoked right now. There's the rears. Yep, I'm super hyped with how this came out. I'm pretty hyped on a first try adjustment, how close I got it to like fit in pretty good. I'm just trying to pat myself in the back because that's pretty damn good for the first adjustment while no wheel was on or anything. I do still need to adjust the ride height a little bit, just tweak it around a little bit, and I need to mess with the alignment a little bit, but this video is most likely already long enough. So if you guys want to get a better breakdown on aligning toe both front and rear, and aligning camber both front and rear, and adjusting ride height more in detail to get it like the way you want it, just let me know in the comments down below and I'll go ahead and make another video just on that specifically. I'm gonna go ahead and bleed all the brakes. I'm not gonna put that in the video just because there are thousands of videos out there on how to bleed brakes. So if you did like the video, if you like the way it came out, go ahead and thumbs up the video. If you are interested in seeing a video on adjusting ride height to how you want it, adjusting camber and toe both front and rear, go ahead and subscribe and stay tuned for the next video. But other than that, thank you for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy. See you in the next one. Later.